Well, probably that an MP defected in the first place, to be completely frank, Adam. But look, in the end, we fought a hard-fought battle. Congratulations to the winner, of course, but also to Kelly Tolhurst, who fought really hard, really campaign. She's a local woman. She knows the area. And actually, in the last week or so, that lead that UKIP thought they had was halved. They were polling 12, 15 points ahead. They've ended up 7 points ahead, and we'll work day and night to try to win this seat back, not for ourselves, but because we believe that people in Rochester and Stroud will be best represented with a Conservative government with a long-term plan to solve in this country.
I understand all of that, but the fact remains that you lost the seat, you didn't want the by-election, you didn't want the incumbent MP to defect. But the question is the same. Why didn't you hang on against someone who had previously been a Conservative in a seat which he'd won with a bigger majority at the general election?
Well, look, make no bones about it. Of course, we didn't want him to do this in the first place. And by the way, I think it's completely nonsensical, because if you care about the things that he says he cares about, controlling immigration, having an in-out referendum on Europe, continuing the plan that is actually seeing the fastest recovery, fastest growing economy in the developed world right now, then the only way to get that is to have David Cameron and the Conservatives continue it, and not get Downing Street in the hands of Ed Miliband, who will undo all of the hard-won work by the British people. But the question on the ballot paper yesterday wasn't about all of that. It wasn't directly about who governs Britain, what the future for this country would be. It was a by-election, and that's why in 168 days' time, when it comes to the general election, we'll be fighting tooth and nail to set out that really kind of positive agenda for what we want to do to finish off the job we've started, not throw it away and not have Ed Miliband in Downing Street taxing, borrowing, making costs of living impossible for families up and down this country.
I mean, you hope. I mean, the problem is that you did try, you know, we have got less than 6 months to go until the general election, and you made all those arguments in this by-election, and the voters rejected them, or at least they didn't buy those arguments. Are you simply saying that it really didn't matter because this was a by-election, it was extraordinary circumstances, come the general election, it's going to be completely different?
No, I do think it matters, but it's also true to say that the UKIP lead was cut dramatically during the course of the campaign from the numbers that they were expecting that were shown in the opinion polls down to 7%. So, you know, here's an MP now with a 2,900 majority, and we know just from talking to people in Rochester and Stroud, a lot of people said, look, I'm going to vote UKIP, but actually, come the general election, I don't want Ed Miliband in there, in Downing Street, which I understand this is what it would mean. There are only two things they say are certain in life, which are death and taxes, and one thing's for certain, if Ed Miliband's in Downing Street, everybody will be taxed an awful lot more. And people don't want to go back to those bad old days of taxes, borrowing, more spending, and throwing away this recovery, which is just starting to reach people now.
I thought people backed UKIP, for example, because they felt that it would protect the NHS, something they don't think the Conservatives have done.
It's pretty hard to know, isn't it? One day they're in favour of privatising the NHS. The next day they contradict that and say they're going to protect it, just as with so many of those UKIP policies. I don't think that's really why people have voted Mark Reckless back in. He was the MP, he had worked for people over a period of time, so he was the incumbent. But as I say, I think that Kelly Tolhurst, who really was an excellent candidate, that she will continue to work really hard in a place where she has been brought up, that she knows really well. And when we come to the general election, just 5-6 months' time, we'll be presenting a really positive alternative, which includes making sure that we get this job finished, that we finish off our long-term economic plan, that we therefore help families all over Britain. That's a very different question on the ballot paper to the one that was asked yesterday, and I hope very much, and we'll be working very hard to make sure that we get a different result as an outcome.